Good evening. I want to second all the previous speakers in thanking the organizers. I also want to thank the audience for coming here. And special thanks to the Special Rapporteur on Human Rights Defenders, Mr. Frost, for an illuminating presentation. I have to say that I was anxious while you were talking because you explained at the beginning of your speech that you were not allowed to talk about, because of the terms of your position, about Israel, but then you listed all the violations of human rights defenders, and I thought to myself, oh, he is speaking about Israel. But then you've also mentioned the positive development in the field of defamation law, and I relaxed. You're not talking about Israel. So what we would like to do is what the Special Rapporteur could not do, and this is to bring the discussion home, to speak about the reality here in Israel and Palestine. We have a very interesting and distinguished panel with us today. This is my first time ever as a moderator. I feel empowered by this new position, although no one ever told me that I'm a moderate in anything, but now it's a good opportunity to try it. What we'll do is we have an hour. Israelis and Palestinians are known for their punctuality. So each one will have 12 minutes. 12 minutes. And because I've been a panelist many times, I know all the tricks. So please do not extend beyond 13 and a half minutes. I'll introduce each of the speakers before they speak, but I'll just say that we have with us today Yuli Novak here to my left, a former director of Breaking the Silence, Professor Yuval Shani, the Dean of the Law Faculty of the Hebrew University, was the Dean of the Law Faculty and an expert in international law, Muhammad Zaidan, the Director of the Arab Association for Human Rights from Nazareth, and Yael Barda, a sociologist and a lawyer and an activist, and we have plenty things to say. So we'll start with Yuli Novak. I'm very excited to invite Yuli to the stage, an ex-client of mine, a present friend, and a future probably both. And since Yuli entered the position of director of Breaking the Silence in a very exciting time in 2012 and continued to be the director till 2017. During this time, many things have happened here in this region when it comes to treatment of human rights defenders. So I would like to ask Yuli, what is the difference in the way human rights defenders live today in Israel and act and operate in the environment today in Israel? What was the change that you felt since 2012 until today?
Thank you, Michael, and thanks for everybody who's been responsible for this event. I am excited to be here in this panel, in this institution, in Jerusalem, in Israel. I spent the last few months since I left my position in Breaking Silence, did some things that I didn't have time to do before. So I traveled a bit and took some rest and had the time to reflect a bit about the journey that me and my friends Breaking Silence went through in the last few years. And I want maybe to start and say something about myself. So if Michael would have introduced me the way I sent the bio, you would have said probably that I am a lawyer by training, that I worked in various social and academic institutions before, and that I was the director of one of the leading human rights organizations in Israel for a few years. And I did thought about these titles, and I thought that if we were sitting here 5 years ago, just as you asked, those titles were accurate. But today, looking back on the process or the journey that I went through, I think the meaning of each and every title like this, changed dramatically. And in a way, I turned out to be, during those 5 years, from a human rights or a political activist and other things, into a dissident, into part of a resistance force to a regime that takes place here in Israel. And to look at this change that happened to me, I think it's important because it is nothing personal. This I know for sure. It doesn't have to do, in a way, it doesn't have to do nothing with me personally, but with all of us here and many others. So if I can take you back just for a moment, 2 years back, to the beginning of 2016, I have to say that till then, I lived quite a normal life, relatively normal. In the course of probably 2 or 3 months, I became a person that her life is threatened on a daily basis. I became a person that the Prime Minister of Israel sent the special security forces, the Shin Bet, to investigate. I became the person that right-wing organizations that have very strong links and connection to the government recruit people to spy over me, pretending to be my friends, and I can go on. And I'm saying this not because I want anyone to feel sorry for me. I'm not feeling sorry for myself at all. I'm saying this because I think this is a very, that we all need to look at this process that happened to me, and maybe, and to many others, and maybe we can learn something out of it. One of the crucial things that happened to me that I can say today, to be sincere, is that I didn't get it. While it happened, I couldn't see how my identity is changing while it changed. And it is very troubling because one of the most challenging things for human rights or for activists or for any of us probably is, the challenges is the risk of being burned out. When you're not recognizing what is happening to you, inside you, how your identity changed, the risk of being burned out is getting much bigger. I want to say something about the regime or the political reality in which we work here. And I guess the speakers will talk about it some more. But first of all, we know this is not at all, and we just heard, this is not a local phenomena, right? We see it in other places around the world, each place with its concrete and specific characteristic, but it is something new, kind of a new political reality, new political structure that is arising around the world. The problem with it is that, I will say something that some of you can identify with. When you work as an opposition, when you work as an activist, as a social, towards a social change, usually you don't have time, right? You are always in a hurry. You're always just dealing with the urgent things that are on the table. Things are happening too fast. Things are changing too fast, and you just have to react. The problem with it is that you don't have time to analyze and to rethink about what's going on, and you do the professional thing that you know how to do. You rely on experience. You rely on your own experience, on others, on lessons from the past. But what do you do when there is a new reality that you need to face, and you take the experience that you have and others and try to implement it, and it doesn't work? And it makes sense that it doesn't work, because this regime that we're facing is not the fascist regimes of the mid-20th century, and for sure it's not the liberal democratic regime of the second half of the 20th century. This is something new that we need to face. I would say that one thing that this regimes, but I will talk about Israel, is doing very well, in a very impressive way, is to tell us and to tell the public that the story is personal. They mark specific people, specific groups, specific organizations, and tell everybody they are the problem. The truth cannot be farther away. The problem is not any specific people. The struggle that takes place here, and this is something that I believe we need to understand, is between values. On one side, as I see it in Israel, we have a group that advance values of religious and nationalistic values. They are in control. They have the power. On the other side, a group that believe and try to advance liberal democratic values. We lose. We're losing big time. The problem with it, and here it gets complicated, that this struggle have an enormous and fundamental implication on each and every one of us in a way that we don't think of. Every one of us, and it doesn't matter if you are a lawyer, if you're a scholar, if you're a teacher, if you're an artist, a filmmaker, you can go on. If you want to hold on to your liberal values, to your old values, and to act and to live according to them, at that moment you pose a threat to the regime. They will see it and they will act accordingly. That means that they will mark you. And after that, they will attack you, personally or as part of a group, but they will. And at that moment, you, all of us, need to make a decision. You can let go of your principle, or you can hold on to your values. But the moment you decide to hold on to your values, you become a dissident. You become a poser to the regime, and you become a part of the resisting force to this regime. This is what happened to me. And I'm quite sure that it is happening right now as we speak to more and more people around. There is nothing glorious about being a dissident. Nothing. Actually, the price tag that comes with it is a huge one. It means that, first of all, you have to let go of your privileges. It is dangerous. It endangers your mind and soul and body, your, I don't know, professional prestige, whatever, you name it. It changes you in a way that I think you cannot go back. But there are some good news. The moment you realize that, the moment you realize that your identity changed, that you are not what you've been before, and accept it, the inner conflict stops. It's much easier to take care of yourself, and it's much less frustrating to work when you accept this, this condition, this new identity. Another implication that this change has, and I'll be very short, is that we need to rethink, as our identity change, our strengths and weaknesses changes as well. And we need to rethink our strengths and weaknesses. I will give one very short example for what I mean. You know, think about truth. The concept of truth. For human rights organizations, but not just for human rights organizations, the concept of truth is a powerful tool. Actually, it's the main tool that we use, right? We shed light over unethical, unmoral action of government, of systems, and by doing this, we shame them, or we take them, challenge them in court, but we're using the truth. What the current government, the current regime in Israel and in other places is doing is actually taking this concept of truth and pull out all its strength, making it, in a way, irrelevant. It is irrelevant in the public discourse anymore. It is irrelevant in the media. It becomes irrelevant even in courts, and we see it day by day. So what we, as activists, as people who want to make a change, what do? Do we hold on to this strength that we used to have? It really worked for so long. But now it doesn't work anymore. We have to let go of that. On the other end, give you another example for a strength that, unfortunately, we don't use enough. But I'm sure that once we will start to, here in Israel, it will show results. Think about solidarity. Very short story. 2 days ago, there was this huge demonstration in Tel Aviv. You probably heard about it, right? 50,000 people went out to the street. A friend of mine who couldn't make it to the demonstration called me and said that she felt bad that she couldn't make it. I asked her why. Why do you feel bad? So she said that she thinks that when people go out to the street, you need to show solidarity, and you need to go with them. So I told her that if she's missing this act of solidarity inside her, maybe next Friday she should go to Bil'in or Nebi Salah and stand with Palestinians in front of Israeli soldiers shooting them. And then she can say that she did something that has to do with this concept of solidarity. I'm saying this because I think if we take this concept of solidarity, which is so important to the situation that we are today, people who want to be involved doesn't even get what it means. Because solidarity is not just to go out when you feel comfortable to do it. Solidarity is to go out of your comfort zone, to take the risk for the benefit of others and for yourself. I can go on, but I'll stop here. I'll just say one last thing. You know, I've been to kind of a hard time in the last few years. But today, when I think about these years, I'm really grateful. I'm grateful because I wasn't born to that. I was born into a very comfortable, very safe social environment, full of privileges, full of them. And I found myself in my 30s standing in front of a wall. I call it the radical wall. I stood in front of it and I tried to push it, and I couldn't. And I tried to cross it, and I was too afraid to cross it. And I was lucky enough that somebody or somebodies pushed me behind this wall. And today, I know for sure, I know that history will say that I am standing today on the right side of this wall. And I truly believe that this is the only position from which, in the current political situation, this is the only position from which we can conduct an effective struggle. And the question I wake up with every morning in the last few weeks or months is, how do we get more people or mobilize more people to cross the wall, which I know how frightening it is to do, this radical wall, to understand truly where we are and what we need to do, and to be willing to pay the price. And more than that, how do we mobilize them across the wall and keep them healthy and safe and happy? Because if we can't do that, it doesn't worth anything. Thank you.